jumping up and down, going like, let's be a band, this is great.
We just totally fell in love musically.
It's just this ever-evolving, like, volcanic machine of activity, you know, which is wonderful. It can be very stimulating to be around, you know, and hard to keep up with sometimes, you know. But if anything, that's what keeps the thrust of life going, is people who want to do shit, you know.
This is beautiful.
Well, fucking. We are the Dresden Dolls.
Mr. and Mrs. Sender, pleased to inform you that your application's been accepted starting from the time you get this letter. You a never-ending hope you're feeling better. You get your choice of anesthetic. We need to chop your tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. It might not be what you expected. Today is a very special day. Oh, now you'd love to have a little with the neighbors. But love won't get you very far. Today, be still you're beating us. Keep on beating it tomorrow, tomorrow. Right! You're big enough to stop pretending. Oh, you start to really show it in a week or so. So don't go saying it's just come to your attention. Oh, you get more than you're asking for without the right protection. Today's a very special day. Oh, and how you'd love to have a little thing with which to play. But love won't get you very far. Today, be still, you're beating hard. You'll have to keep on beating it tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. We'll be boys, 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 we'll be girls with no one. Girls will be girls, we'll be guys, we'll be boys that don't cry. Other toys that they use to be girls they despise. By the morning hour, they always said that sex would change you, change you, change you, change you. No second thoughts, the knife is nearing. You'll never hear the little pitter-patter, pitter-patter of this little feat of engineering. Of course I love you, and of course it's what's inside that matters. But I think the whole charade's ending. Oh, it seems to me to be the only way to keep from getting caught up in a long life of regretting. Lost to say that once you get a taste of it, you'll keep on cutting. Look, well, we happen to be here.
I was looking for a band. I was about 25, Brian was 23, and I was just starting to look for a band.
21.
And
You were even younger than that.
really? Maybe
Yes.
I was 23?
You were just turning 24. We met at a Halloween party.
And I used to throw these big, crazy art parties. And so it was a couple hundred people, and I played piano, maybe 5 songs.
On a cold Halloween evening. I was brought to Amanda's amazing artist house by a mutual friend, and the door creaked open with this beautiful girl in a white gown with Christmas lights inside, beckoning all those to come in. And up on the
Veronique.
Veronique. And over the course of the night, everyone made their way up to the attic, and Amanda sat and played 5 or 6 songs at an old spinet piano. And I sort of saw the life of the band flash before my eyes and thought, this is exactly the type of person I've been waiting to play with all of my life.
He talked to me, and then about a week later, we got together and we played together for the first time to just experiment. And we knew, like, in 5 minutes, we were like, oh.
You know, you knew the way you know about a good melon. It was good. Yeah, it was one of those things where it was just so intuitive right off the bat. Amanda sat down, I sat down. I said, well, just play me something you've been working on. And you went, da-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun, dun, da-da-dun.
Sex Change is the same song we just played.
Yep. And I started playing along, and then 2 seconds later, she looked up and gave me the nod of approval. All of the important stuff to us, we didn't even have to talk about it. It was like, yes, go.
You tell us where the naughty children go. You show how the sky turned white and everybody froze. Heaven knows how they got into the fireplace, but everybody's saying grace, trying to keep a happy face. And Mrs. O, will you teach us how to keep from getting cold? Out we go, and you watch us as we face the falling snow. What a show, with our hands aimed up, 50-foot extension cord. You really have a way with words. The truth won't save you now. The sky is watch the vultures count the chance might bring strange shows. Mrs. O, will you tell about the time they made you go all alone to the palace where they took your only clothes? We all know there's no hell and no Hiroshima. Chernobyl was a cover-up. The world is really all in love. This is how you leave us hanging now that we are thrown up the north. Will you kill me if I say
Amanda Palmer is strong-willed, creative, 1,000 ideas a minute, just loves to live life, be out there, reach and feel and smell and taste and poke people and get attention and give attention and bring people together and create.
Brian, to me, is one of the most focused and intensely passionate. I've played with a lot of musicians, and Brian has a rare talent, and it bleeds into all aspects, I think, of his life. His personality is of extreme focus. So I think it's what makes him such a good drummer, is he's able to just block everything out and focus on the moment of playing in the song. And he's incredibly emotional and, like an open wound, emotional. And Brian also brought a lot of the discipline into the band. I was like very, very happy in my street performing bohemian life. And Brian came in like this truck of discipline. It was like, no, we're going to tour and gig and I was like, all right, fine.
He was on a mission.
He was on a mission. So, but we balanced each other out very well. We were really good working partners in those early days when it came to building a band.
We both have that romantic vision of the 1920s and 30s and have that in our hearts as well, and that was a huge bonding point. It was like, probably stylistically, the most perfect complement for one. We shared a lot of music taste in common, sort of darker, theatrical, very passionate, cathartic music. And yet we also kind of complement each other, where I came from listening to a lot of punk and heavy metal, Amanda came from listening to a lot of avant-garde and pop music, and the two fusing together made this widespread.
In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who sings of the dreams that he brings from the wide open sea. In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who sleeps as the river bank weeps to the old willow tree. In the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who dies, full of fear and full of cries, in a drunken town fight. But in the port of Amsterdam, there's a sailor who's born on a hot, muggy morn in the dawn's early light. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, clap! In the port of Amsterdam, where the sailors all meet, there's a sailor who eats only fish heads and tails, and he'll show you his teeth, which have rotted too soon. They can haul up the sails, they can swallow the moon, and he cries to the cook with his arms open wide, come bring me more fish, throw it down by my side. And he wants so to laugh, but he's too full to try, so he stands up and he laughs and he zips up his fly. In the port of Amsterdam, you can see the sailors dance, punchers bursting their pants, driving women to port. They've forgotten the tune that their whiskey voice croaked, splitting the night with the roar of their jokes. And they turn and they dance and they laugh and they lust to the rancid sound of the accordion verse. And then out in the night with their pride in their pants and the sluts that they tow underneath the street lamps. In the port of Amsterdam, you can see the sailors drink and they drink and they drink and they drink once again, and they drink to the help of the whores of Amsterdam who've given their bodies goodness all gone for a few dirty coins. But he just can't go on. Rubs his nose in the twinkling stars up above, and he pisses like I cry on the unfaithful love in the port of Amsterdam, in the port of Amsterdam.
Both of us loved to work on the
Thank you,
band.
Mr.
That was a
Brian
huge
McNeil.
bonding point. There was no one, either one of us kind of going like, yeah, I don't want to know about.
Yeah, no, but work ethic has never been either of our problems. We're both workaholics. We love to play, we love to work. I grew up really loving emotional art. So songwriters really like scouring the depths of their feelings, and the books that I loved and the movies that I loved and the music that I loved was all, I wanted artists to be as honest with me as possible. That was the stuff that turned me on.
I had a really heavy influence from jazz musicians. Elvin Jones, the jazz drummer who sort of became famous playing with John Coltrane, was and still remains my primary motivation and inspiration in drumming. My father is one. My father was a drummer, but also was the person who kind of guided me and instilled the ethics in me of really making the instrument a voice and a way to really express yourself and to really listen to other musicians that you play with. So my father was a huge influence on me.
Being in a duo is hard because it's, you know, with a band of 6 people, you've got like a lot to organize and you've got 6 different opinions. And with 2 people, everything is simpler in a way, but it also means that if we disagreed, it was hell. The Dresden Dolls, for better or for worse, I feel shine fundamentally as a live band. And we toured and toured and toured and toured up until the time we took our first big break, and I was completely empty. I was emotionally and physically exhausted from doing the Dresden Dolls. And I went off and made a solo record. Brian went off and joined a bunch of bands. And you need to find a balance. I mean,
Yeah.
I found that on the road, it was impossible to have a relationship. It was impossible to have any semblance of a normal life. And I wanted those things. And I couldn't do them living in a tour bus.
Well, a hiatus is a hiatus for a reason. That's a temporary break from a certain activity to get rest, get perspective, get time away and new experiences, and then come back refreshed.
The idea of doing a, you know, theatrical thing, but that was about everyone getting together with like a no diva policy, that everyone, you know, we
Pitch
wanted
in.
everyone to feel welcome. We
Yeah.
didn't want to feel like we were some exclusive club, because we were both very weird, marginalized kids. And we wanted to find and create our own community, I think.
And I felt that right away coming to Amanda's party. And I remember I was 19 when I moved to Boston. And the first punk show I went to, everybody there kind of gave me the hairy eyeball and like, who the fuck is the new kid kind of feeling. And I remember thinking to myself, if I ever start a band in the city, I never want somebody to feel like out of place coming to one of my gigs. So that was a huge part behind this, was everybody's welcome, everyone belongs, and everyone's invited to pitch in and participate.
The Dresden Dolls are educational. You can tell from the scars on my arms and the cracks in my hips and the dents in my car and the blisters on my lips. I'm not the careless girls. You can tell from the dust on the floor and the trees that are breaking and I keep on breaking more. It looks like I am shaking, but it's just the temperature. Then again, if I were any colder, I would disengage. If I were any colder, I would act my answer. I don't think you believe me. It's not the way I'm meant to be. It's just the way the operation made me. And you can tell from the state of my room that they let me out too soon. And the pills that I ate came a couple weeks ago. Got some issues to work through. There I go again. Into the you. Make believing that I have a so many visions trying to get me to do it accidentally on purpose. just encourages her. Tell from the full body cast that you're sorry that you asked, that you did everything you could like any nigga person would, but I might be catching, so don't touch it, stop believing you're immune to gravity and stuff to get me wet. The bandages will open up and you can tell from the smoke of the sink that the courtesy is critical. It's not a little difference, time it takes to make it. She'll make up 10 excuses with excuse her for the day. It's just the way the medication makes her. Thank you very much. We are the Dresden Dolls, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Brian Viglione on the drums and the guitar.